All right. Welcome to our live. Once again, my name is Dakari Urquhart. My name is Dakari Urquhart. I am the founder of the Urquhart Project, and I'm the founder of Fragrance and Beyond and the Equal Justice Project, and also the father of the three children, Zaid, Asia, and Akil. And today, I want to just briefly tell you about my situation. My situation is a unique situation, but it's not uncommon. As I stated before, I'm an entrepreneur, and have stable income, have adequate living space for all of my children. Been a loving parent, been there from day one. Never have been found guilty or even been charged with anything. Um, Never have been proven to be a harm or threat to my children, best interest, safety, well-being, etc. You name it. So just to get all of that out the way in the beginning, because I know some of the first things that people say when they see and hear stories like mine is that what did you have to do with it? And in this case, we're talking about children that have been removed from a family for no other reason than that the mother received medical attention and that they were not allowed to be returned back to a father for no other reason other than I was an African American Muslim male, which those two things seem to be a crime. And so the Equal Justice Project is designed for a lot of any men, any family, any children, anybody that's facing the circumstance of not being reunited with their family, not being reunited with their loved ones because of uh, civil rights violations or because of an unfair process or due process that wasn't given. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know their rights. And so black children represent maybe 12, 13% of the overall American population, but 30% of the children in foster care. And so what we want to talk about today is what's going on with the Urquhart children in my case. Okay. To make a long story short, I was informed that my children were in the hospital and they needed to be picked up. And when I made it to go pick them up, I was met with a team of so-called professionals that were more hostile and more argumentative and confrontational with me than willing to assist me. And due to that fact, led my children to being stifled in care and not given my kids immediate terms of release. So, what happened was when I was informed that I needed to pick up my children, I went to the. I was informed the next day. Never at any point was I informed by CPS that they picked my children up from the hospital. And immediately when they took my children from the hospital, rather than informing me or getting in contact with next of kin, they took the children out of state to Maryland and to a neighboring state, which is Maryland in my case. I live in Washington, D.C. And so when I went to the court the next morning to find out where are my children, um, they had what's called a show cause hearing to show why these children were taken into custody. And at the show cause hearing, I was then able to hear the petition that brought the children into care. None of it mentioned me. None of it mentioned my address. None of it even mentioned any of the details about my living condition. And the report even stated that there were no reports on me as a parent. And so from there, um, I had a discussion with the judge after that case was over, after that hearing was over. And upon me having that discussion with the judge, an individual had interrupted our conversation, and I asked this individual to excuse herself from our conversation. And this particular lady was real upset when I said that her face turned bloodshot red. She became visibly irritated because I basically asked her to not interrupt a conversation between two grown adults, but rather, if two grown adults are having a conversation, you should wait until we're done and then interject or use manners, in other words. And so this individual became belligerent, became hostile, became um, just visibly angry, not cordial at all, not willing to work with me in any shape, form, or fashion. Because upon me stepping into the next court, this individual began to start saying, I don't know who this guy is. He claims he's the dad, but we need to take a DNA test. We don't even know who he is. Maybe he needs to take a psychological evaluation. Um, maybe parenting classes. It wasn't a maybe. It was she was saying parenting class, psychological evaluation, etc. Like a list of things that would take over anyone at least over a year to complete. And so all of these things were done to me. And when I began to complain and I filed a federal lawsuit against the individual who I'm describing, um, the treatment became more and more hostile, where they continued my pushback court dates and started to perjure information in the court and perjure pleadings in the court to try to cover up the tracks that they have clearly apparently had done some wrongdoing. Local rights were violated in order to you know um, basically deprive me and my children of our civil rights. So the in order to cover up the fact that these local rules were violated, they definitely made a lot of different claims, claiming that my name wasn't on all of the children's birth certificate. So we handled that. And I didn't have I didn't want to do a DNA test. I never even contested anything about DNA. They imposed that on me and wouldn't let me even go forward in the case if I didn't want to do a DNA test. So legally, you don't have to do a DNA test. You can actually file an affidavit and make legal representations for a child or a person. But in my case, because I'm a black father that wants to be a dad and step up to the plate when the mom's not able to be there, they prevented me from doing it. And that's unless you get a DNA test. Hopefully, the test will come back wrong and they would just dismiss me out the children's life. But that's not the case. The DNA test came back um, that I was the dad for all three of the children. After that, then it was a cycle. They tried to push forward, do the psychological evaluation. So once the psychological evaluation comes back, that everything is okay, no diagnosis. Now it's pushing forward to, hey, do the parenting class. It takes 3 months. Took 3 months just to get the parenting class scheduled because they had no classes available. And when the classes did get scheduled, it took another 3 or 4 months to finish because sometimes the instructor would be doing two, three, four jobs at once. So his parenting class wasn't his only job. And so this is the type of things that we have to deal with. So that took almost 6 months just to get through the parenting class and everything like that. So throughout this whole case, when they give you these hurdles to jump, they also hold you accountable for not being for the children being in care. So at the time when I tried to do what was necessary, when I tried to do what was necessary for the children, to make sure that they was out of care because that's what they demanded you do. They also hold that time against you. So what they did was they made me do about 20 things, 20 different things. And after I did all those things, now they start to postpone my court date. And so that's where we at now. I should be done with the case, but we are in court at this time, waiting for September 11th or September 12th to restart the court date because they keep pushing the court date down the road 3-4 months at a time. Throughout the 3-4 month period, like it's impossible to get anything done to find out what's going on with my children. It's just wait and see, and nothing happens. And so now we're in a time where um, these children must be taken out of care. And we have done from the day one, from the day that I first found out about it. I'm a father that a single dad that's up here. I don't have a lot of strong family support up here. So, but the family that I do have, I reached out to them on day one when this incident first happened. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to gather a significant amount of family support, and so what we have to do with the Urquhart Project is we have to create the family support structures and the family support infrastructure that's necessary. And so that's one thing that I realized when going through this system. If you don't have a strong support network, a strong family support network, then the system is able to do to anybody what they did to my children and to me. And so with the Urquhart Project, we'll be able to make some inroads for families that are underserved and families that are at risk. A lot of these families are at risk and don't even know it. And so the moment that they realized that my relatives were even not willing to change their life or modify their lifestyle to make sacrifices for these children, then they figured that they can start to build a precedent on that. And then so without family support, they can keep me in court and then ultimately keep the children in care. With family support, the children won't be in care and they have no initiative to keep me in court for frivolous, for frivolous reasons. And so for this court date to be played out for 2 years only shows, um, if you follow the money, that it's an abuse of title for funding. And the longer that they stay in care, the more incentive they have to drag out the court date. And so now, as we get closer towards my trial date, they also have a new deadline that is approaching. So in the next 40 days, if I don't am not able to get the children out of care, then they want to change the goal towards adoption and fight in spite of the fact that I have done the work I've done. I've been fighting from day one. It is just an exploitive system. And so unfortunately, my children were removed from their mom while she was seeking medical attention, and they were refused to be returned to me because they wanted me to begin attending these court hearings for the neglect proceedings that they were bringing against the mom. And so, as crazy as it sounds, to make a long story short, it's just another way to perpetuate slavery, and it's another way to target families, black families, Muslim families, entrepreneur. So We are an entrepreneur family. We were actually one of the families that were going to to be relocating in 2019 during the year return to Ghana. And so during this same year, doing right before about 4 to 5 months before we was scheduled to depart. This is when my ex-wife and the children's mom went to receive the medical treatment that she went to receive, and this is when the incident happened. So upon them knowing about what I do as a business owner and what my plans were to relocate the children to Africa, they also used this as a major thing in their as a major point against me. So the major points that they used against me was I'm a single male, black male. I'm a Muslim. He wants to take the children to Africa, and guess what? They even say that because I'm a businessman, um, They didn't know. All of these things have been brought up, and this is the only thing that they can bring up. Most people who lose their kids, they're on drugs, they're in the street, they have mental illness, they have financial problems, they are homeless, and not saying that those people don't deserve children, but what I'm saying is that in this case, you have a situation where you don't have any of that. There's no homelessness involved. I have a home that's been approved by the social workers, and that it have been said that it's adequate living space and it's safe. So that's not up for doubt. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm able to provide inadequate income for my family. I have housing and adequate housing for all three children, and all three children will have their own living space, etc. Um, all of these three children were scheduled to go to private school. All of these three children have been in private school and been tutored prior to even being in care. So these kids were in early childhood development. All of my children went to school by the age of 2. All of my children spoke 2 languages. And so what you have is you have a government that came and targeted a Muslim African American family, and has forcefully separated us the same way that they would forcefully separate an immigrant on the border. And so that's what's going on. I mean, and whether we like it or not, and whether we understand it or not, that's what's going on. And so with the Urquhart Project, we're going to be able to create homes and transitional living spaces for children and families that are at risk and are underserved, because a lot of times the family structure is not there, or you have families that are not fully developed and not able to put their personal concerns or their personal desires to the side for the sake of individuals in their family. And so the Urquhart project is going to address family development, family preservation, um, early childhood development, education, food, clothing, shelter, services, that families and economic development and mental health and services, also medical services, also that these underserved families are facing. And one thing about it, I know that um, when you're going through these type of hard times and when you're going through these type of transition points, you don't know really who to talk to, and you start to think, is it even worth talking to this person or that person? And people even give you that vibe that is don't talk to them about it, or it's not worth it. And so when families are in these tough situations, it's really hard to explain. But the one thing about it, if you haven't been in a situation like that, um, it's important to figure out what can you do to help someone that's in a tight situation where they have children and and dependents on the line. We all have to step in because we know it takes a village to raise a child. So in your own family and friendship networks, make sure that you tighten the bonds and have some type of family preservation plan in place, because if the government ever gets an opportunity to see a black family that's in dire need and in a position of immediate need and vulnerable, then unfortunately, a lot of times, too often, we see the government become predatory in nature, and especially if you're black and if you're Muslim. And so we ask for your support for the Urquhart Project. We ask for your support for the Equal Justice Project. We ask for your support for all of the victims and all of the children and all of the underserved families that are suffering from lack of support, lack of empathy, and actually just part of this strategic plan to destabilize and to divide and to profit off of black families. And if you feel like I feel, and you think it's time for us to unite as adults and kind of like fix some of the problems that these children are having, they looking up to us to be bigger and better people, and not just to be stagnated and accept the same old status quo situation. So what's happening with my children, what's happening with the Urquhart family is not unique to what's happening in America. It's not unique to what goes on throughout the Western world. The foster care systems are used as a tool to attack, minorities and underserved communities. And we are the ones that have to put an end to that. No one's gonna come put an end to it for us. We are the ones that gotta come put an end to it. And if we are so docile that we can just look at the issue and turn our head, then know that you'll be dealing with the same issue later on, and you'll be forced to find a reason to explain to people how uh, it just seemingly is a coincidence that it happened to you. But I used to be the same way. I was one of those people when I saw other people struggling with custody issues and foster care system. I would always stop and to ask myself, what role did that person play in it? And far too often, the answer is not. It's not much, but rather it was designed for this person to be targeted by the system. And so, indeed, we have foster care for a reason. We have CPS and social workers and things for social welfare systems for a reason. So, the point of this video and the point of our project is not to undermine the social um, welfare system that's in place for children, but it's for us as a community to start creating social welfare resources that represent the needs of our families and that represent the needs of our underserved children. And it's time for the children to know that they have family and they have villages that are that are designed to raise the child, not to pass the child around for profit, not to separate the child from their parent. For far too long, black people in this country have been separated for profit, and it continues to happen to this day. And so, join us at the Urquhart Project. Join us in our legal fund. Join us in our campaign to end the abuses and that happen in the child welfare system. And so, join the Urquhart Project. Join the Equal Justice Project. And if you have been a victim of CPS or foster care or anything like that, please feel free. Please feel free to join our cause, because you will be a voice amongst the many, and your voice will be an example for other people. So join the Equal Justice Project. If you have no black fathers that are trying to be reunited with their children, they can't. The Urquhart Project will be a place for the, the fathers and the mothers and the children to meet and to get things sorted out to preserve their family before anything happens. Because if something happens, rather it just be a visit to the hospital and you don't have these things in place, then you may find yourself in a tough situation. I never thought that I would be in a situation where I would not be able to get my kids. It's just not. It's just something that you just can't think of it as a parent. But once you get that case, they prevent you from getting the kids, and then they make you go to the next one down the line. So the thing about it is that they want to associate you with the case, some shape, form, or fashion. And so once they can do that, then that's kind of two birds with one stone. And now they can just focus on the kids and getting them to a third party. If a third party is not able to step up, then they have the kids. Then they can postpone your legal situation and keep the kids stagnated in care why they run up Title 5 4 funding, Title 5 fundings, and Title 4 funding and things like that. It's ridiculous. It has to stop. And it's a slavery by another means. It's slavery by another name. And if you are a seeker of justice, then you need to join us. Never give up the fight. The fight for these children and other children will continue, and the fight for equal justice will continue. I like to give so much appreciation to Black Business Matters and everybody involved in helping me get this story out here. I appreciate all your time. Please donate towards our cause. Please donate towards getting these kids and other children like mine's home. So if you have children, if you are a victim, if you want to be a part of the cause, then you need to join the Equal Justice Project. You can reach out to my business partners at Black Business Matters 2018. And don't think for a second that this is not a coordinated effort against those that are willing and those that are pillars in the community that are willing to step out and step up and make a difference and work towards building uh, the diaspora and the community that they want to see in the future. These are the people they're targeting. And so don't think for 1 second that what happened to me can't happen to anyone, and it won't happen to anyone. So in order to keep it from happening to anyone else, let's join the fight. Never give up the fight. Support the Urquhart family. Join the Urquhart Project. Join the Equal Justice Project. Send us a shout out, or if you want to get involved, send us an email at blackbusinessmatters2018@gmail.com. And check out our GoFundMe page. And I appreciate all your support. Thank you.